lawsuit's just been filed against an Oklahoma hospital after a surgical sponge was forgotten inside a patient's knee. And due to the infection and several follow-up surgeries to correct the problem, the woman says that she can't run anymore and is in constant pain. News 9's Jolene Change joins us now with more on this one. Jolene.
Well, Alex, the case was filed this morning against Mercy Hospital. The plaintiff, a 23-year-old athlete who was a student at Oklahoma Christian University.
You know, you get that kind of sick feeling in the middle of your stomach that something's terribly wrong. And
there was, and things were escalating fast. 4 days after ACL surgery, Whitney Jarvis had a fever, was very lethargic, and just wasn't getting any better.
I just was in a lot of pain, and I wasn't really getting better. I just felt really weak and wasn't myself.
Her mother called the doctor, and after x-rays discovered this, a foreign object inside Whitney's knee. A sponge left behind after surgery. Whitney's parents asked for those x-rays.
They didn't send the x-ray with the sponge in it. We had to go back in and specifically ask for that x-ray so that we could get a copy of it.
They also asked an attorney for help in dealing with the hospital.
To leave a sponge inside a knee, which is a really small area, means that the healthcare providers weren't paying attention and were careless in what they were doing.
News 9 showed Whitney's x-ray to an orthopedic surgeon outside this case. He tells us it is odd that a sponge that big could be overlooked or misplaced, and that typical surgery protocol includes a before and after surgery count of everything used during that procedure to discover anything that may be missing, like a sponge. He also says during circumstances like this, hospitals typically conduct an investigation to figure out what happened and if anyone needs to be reprimanded.
They need to pay the proper compensation for the damage they've done to her, the additional surgeries that this caused, and the condition she's going to live with for the rest of her life.
Certainly not in my case, where they keep sucking blood and chemicals out of me, and if anything, things are getting worse.
And we understand that. We have been looking at it far now for the last couple of months, and I am shocked that they do not know. And I understand that the field of medicine and disease and ailments is not always cut and dry, and tests have to be run. But my God in heaven, Mike, are you laying in that hospital bed knowing you're not getting any better? They're still sucking juices out of you and still playing medical roulette with your life. This is your life.
Hello, this is Cheryl Merrill, and it is Saturday, January 11th, 2020. I wanted to report on a couple things that have come to my attention the past few days in a small period of time that are leading me to believe that there is something going on within the medical community, the health community, that they're starting to do some crazy stuff. And one of them is, in the past week and today, I've heard a bunch of things going on in the medical community. One, that they're allowed to hold you hostage. Right now, the radio talk show host, Michael Rivero, went into the hospital over something about 3 weeks ago around the Christmas holiday. He went off the air. Didn't expect to spend this much time because they still haven't found out what's wrong with him, and they will not release him from the hospital. Now, the one unusual factor is they chose to leave Hawaii, where he lived for like 20 years, maybe 15 to 20 years, in order to come to the States because of the poor quality of the medical community in Hawaii. So he's not getting it too much better here in Indiana. They came out because of the relatives who are doctors in Indiana. So he expected to get top care. And, it's a little bit overkill, though, because Michael's complaining that they won't release him. They're sucking chemicals out of him, he said, and his blood out of him, and they still can't figure out what's wrong with him. And at first he came in with iron depletion. They had to give him a blood transfusion. I don't know, have they ever heard of old age? I mean, the man's 66. He works really hard every day. He just came back from a move. I'm concerned, like I was for Michael Rawls, my neighbor, who had, at least from my perspective, the way I saw it, he walked up the hill every day. He was fine getting around. He wasn't like really bad off or anything. He just wanted to get rid of the pain in his back. He didn't have an injured back. And some doctor recommended one of those fast procedures, small incision, in and out within 2 days, 3 days or something, maybe even the same day. And the man lingered there for 3 weeks. And my guess is, based on the reviews of this institution, it's San Ramon, over in San Ramon, called the San Ramon Regional Medical Center, based on their reviews, that they have a serious problem over there, and they have some nurses who are abusive to patients. Nurses don't administer necessary pain medication to people with slip discs waiting in the emergency room for 2 hours. They leave their bowels in the toilet pans in the bed for like 2 hours of the same person who had to wait 2 hours to get back disc medication. I'm saying these people who are in this small medical facility, there are some pictures that make it look very large, but the review said that it's a very small hospital. That made it look like it was a huge campus, but I'm pretty sure that it's that entire campus that I see in the pictures is not just this hospital. It's probably a bunch of other things too. So anyway, the point is that, okay, my neighbor died needlessly because he agreed to have back surgery instead of infrared therapy, that he could have gotten this $50 machine to point at the area of his lower back and to heal his pain that way. He could have had cortisone shots. He could have had all kinds of different ways of intervention to help his back pain. Instead, a doctor recommended this back surgery, and he went in November 18th, and he didn't come out dead until December 7th, and he shouldn't have died. Okay, so he shouldn't have even been given the back surgery because everyone agreed that he hit the bottle, at the local bars all the time. He shouldn't, and he smoked. We all witness him smoking every day. He should not have had this procedure. So that's another thing. So he lingered on the property for another 20 days. That's a long time to be on a hospital dying. The other thing is that, so the Michael Rivero, they won't let him out either. I suspect that they abused my Michael here, my neighbor. I think that he probably was abused there and treated poorly, because some of these people in the reviews say that they're a horrible hospital, the personnel's horrible, and everything else. Okay, so I don't know why the doctor referred him all the way to San Ramon when you can get back surgery anywhere within a block of where he lives. So the point of this is that today I got one more red flag. My customer, who's quite young, she's probably about 30 or 35, she's an attorney, and she told me she just got surgery. And I just happened to ask her when I was leaving, what happened. She said, well, I initially had this surgery to remove some tissue that, could have been cancerous, but they left their instrument, a sharp instrument, in my body during the surgery. Okay, and I had to go into emergency surgery to have it removed. So she said that when I said, did you know that is the number one cause of deaths in America, is the medical profession leaving their garbage in people's bodies during surgery? Did you know that? Their instruments, whatever, And she said, no, I didn't know that, but I do know 2 other people who had the same problem. One was giving birth or something, C-section, and another was something else. She said, if I know that many people who have had this problem, then it must be a widespread problem. So I just wanted to say that there is a pattern forming here, that the tyranny that we're experiencing in our government, the rise of our government, especially in the liberal states like California, where they're just forcing things on us, where the police are like seeking full rights to steal from anybody at any time for any reason and not receive any criminal complaints or file charges against them for stealing, robbing Americans. They're doing it all over the country where the states allow it to fund their police departments. that's just one example of the criminality of what's coming up and the corruption, tyranny. So I wouldn't be surprised. I'm a little cynical. I know I'm a little cynical, but the fact of the matter is, these people, their number one priority, if they're doing surgery, is to make sure that they get it all out before they sew them up. It's just a procedure that they need to do. And so my question is, why isn't this being looked into? It's killing people all over the country. And I think that it could be part of the kill grid coming up of tyranny, where they're just killing people off that way. Some people probably don't catch it in time. Like I say, the number one killer of people in the United States is the medical profession leaving their surgical instruments or whatever else. They kill people after surgery. They leave it inside of them. So when I heard that this woman had that problem, I think that it's all too common, and perhaps, some of these doctors are in on. Maybe they're being bribed to do this. Maybe they're making money somehow to leave their instruments in people. I just actually absolutely want to say, stay out of the hospital system if you can. Do not go into the hospital system, because I think they have a kill grid. I really do. I'm beginning to see it. The kill grid is leaving instruments in people after surgery, and also seeking to prolong people's suffering up to the point of death when they lure them into these ads that say that back surgery is almost like one small incision, same day out surgery, just like cataract surgery. And that's an absolute lie when the person ends up staying there 20 days and dying. So they're luring them out in that way, and then they're killing people. And I'm wondering, how can we get the stats? I'm going to have to look as a citizens journalist how I can get the stats of how many people die from this back surgery. And then how does the public have information from these institutions? What are they doing? Are they really doing this as a kill grid to kill people as part of the population control grid that's starting through the government and everything else? They're using this population control thing through the fires, PG&E, and through the turning off the power grid and things like that, where they're killing people with fires. PG&E is starting the fires. It was really interesting. Like I say, on last Thursday, I had to go to my customer in the Sunset, and it was kind of a long ride for me. It's like a 30-minute ride to the other side of San Francisco. And I'm just on my way there, and I'm stopped at a light, and I'm in the crosswalk because I was forced there because there's this manhole with a man in it blocking the bike lane. So I just get to the left of him, and all of a sudden there's this meter maid screaming at me because I was a little bit in front of her, but she's complaining that I don't care about the life of that man in the manhole because I'm blocking other drivers' access to sing him. I mean, what it was really about was some witch making up some crazy story because she didn't want me to be in front of her as a bicyclist. She thought I was going to slow her down. So that was that. I'm sure that's what that was about. Witches do that all the time. I mean, I've witnessed how witches operate. She'll just out of the blue accuse you of something. I mean, there was this one witch who I was in the Embarcadero Center once, a shopping center in San Francisco, and she came around the corner she couldn't see, what I was there coming around, just like a normal walking person. And she came up kind of pretty close to my face, and I shocked her. And she took it out on me, and she was like cursing me and cussing me out, like I had done something to her, like I threatened her. And she started yelling as she left my area, and people were looking back at me, what did you do to her? They couldn't figure out what I did. She was like really, really loud. So I've noticed these witches and how they operate. When you piss them off in any way, they'll just yell at you for anything. You didn't have anything to do with it. You're totally innocent. I'm just sitting because he blocked my bike path with this manhole work. And she's taking it out on me because she doesn't want my bicycle in front of her, So anyway, the thing is that I wouldn't be surprised if there's a secret satanic brotherhood whether it's through the Freemasons or whatever it is, that these medical doctors are involved in killing off people by leaving stuff inside the person after the surgery. I wouldn't be surprised, okay? And they may be operating under the spirit of Satan that directs them to do to certain people under certain circumstances. So I just wanted to say that there's something fishy going on with people who are doctors who are holding their patients hostage simply because they can't figure out what's wrong with them. And, 2 or 3 weeks, that's not his problem that you can't find out what's wrong with him. Is there, what kind of reasoning or logic is going on here that the doctor thinks she can just hold someone hostage as long as she wants? To me, this is a spirit manifesting. It has to be a reasonable request to hold the patient inside a hospital just because you can't figure out what's wrong with him. And like I say, I see the potential. I see the potential for these people to just slow kill Mr. Rivero. Because he says that they're making him feel worse. They're sucking chemicals out of him, and they are taking his blood. They did a transfusion. He says he doesn't feel as good as when he came in to the hospital. So they're killing him. They could be very easily, just like this Michael Rawls guy, who had at least 5 to 10 years left of his natural life, in my opinion. And they cut his life short and made some money off of it, keeping him in the hospital for a couple weeks. So these hospitals make a lot of money through Medi-Cal, keeping people in their hospital. So I think that this is about money. I've got to say, I think this is about money. And then they decide they wouldn't kill Michael Rivero. They're slow killing him right now. It won't amount to that. But they will kill certain people. They will. So I have evidence that they killed Michael Rawls, but they should have never operated on him. And that's slow killing somebody. He should have never been worked on. So that's my point is my customer today was the final straw telling me that she just got back from surgery, emergency surgery, because a doctor left something inside her. She said it was sharp and metal. So I'm saying I think the Satanists are networking and working through a spirit that the spirit, they decide whether or not that person's going to have further complications.